the 30-second doorbell for us?
Yes.
Okay, I trust everybody can hear it, and when that's when you'll be alerted that for your participants that you have 30 seconds to wrap up. Okay, the first segment on tonight's agenda is the race for Kahului Council seat between incumbent Tasha Kama and challenger Carol Lee Kamikona. The second segment will follow the same outline for the South Maui Council contest between incumbent Kelly King and challenger Thomas Cook. We remind everyone that while the eventual winner is from their home district, he or she will represent all county residents. So your vote for a candidate in each district is important. The general election is November 3rd, but as we know, everything is mail-in, and it looks like toward the beginning of October, we may start receiving ballots. So we encourage everyone to be prepared, fill out your ballot as quickly as you can, get it in the mail in case we have any doings in Washington, D.C. filing up the mail system. Between the two segments, we will be reviewing the equally important charter amendments that will be on the ballot. And when I say reviewing, we're really just listing them. We don't have time to review them, but we're just going to list the 7 very briefly and alert everyone that there's a recording of past Sunday's webinar featuring Keani Rollins-Fernandez, Kelly King, and Shane Sinensi, which provides a detailed explanation of all 7 charter amendments and is available on the County Council's website. So we encourage everyone to be prepared on those matters as well. Okay, specifically now we will open with each candidate offering a 1-minute opening comment, followed by a series of questions with time-limited answers, and then a 1-minute closing statement. We will read each question as it's shown on the screen the first time, and then you will have, when you have 30 seconds remaining, you will hear that familiar doorbell ring. So our first segment is Kahului. So we're going to start with the 1-minute introductions, and we're going to ask Tasha Kama to give her 1-minute introduction. And I will mention, because I'm older than everybody, I'm just going to use first names. Privilege. Okay, introduction. Tasha Kama, would you please take it away?
Thank you, Mike, and thank you for the invitation to be here tonight. Thank you to the Board of Directors, newly as well as past elected. I'm very appreciative of the work that you've always done in terms of coming to the council, giving testimony, and being very objective about what you testify on. So thank you so much. So I'm Tasha Kama. I'm the current seated representative from Kahului. I am a mother. I've been married for almost 50 years to my husband, David. We have 11 children. We have 31 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. The whole work that I've done in Maui County was always to ensure that the people of our community have the best quality of life that we can possibly help them to achieve. So my work in the council has always been towards affordable housing, because I believe that with housing comes equity, with equity comes upward mobility, with upward mobility is how we bring our people out of poverty. So this campaign, because of COVID-19, has led me in a direction that I believe that I think we are all going in that same direction in terms of public health and safety is important, economic recovery, affordable housing, as well as sheltering our unsheltered. So that's who I am, and that's why I hope to be able to convey to each and every one of you tonight those points about who I am. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tasha. I did anticipate at 30 seconds we were going to hear the doorbell, but maybe I didn't make that clear that could be used in the introductions as well. But okay, so the next introduction by Carol Lee. Carol Lee, take it away, please.
Aloha, Mike, and mahalo for this opportunity to speak with your members of the Kihei Community Association
and its outlying communities. My name is Carolee Kamikona, and I am seeking your vote and support in the upcoming general election for the Maui County Council's Kahului seat. My family hails from the Kalapanapuna and Kohala area of Hawaii Island. I was born in Hilo. I am a single mother of 7 beautiful children. From them, I have been blessed with 11 incredible grandchildren. I am a retired veteran of 22 years from the United States Navy and Naval Reserve. Throughout my military career, I have experienced the qualities of good leadership, dignity, accountability, and transparency, all qualities that I possess. I am fully committed to being your voice on the County Council. Mahalo.
Nice.
Thank you very much, Carolee. Okay, now we'll move on to the questions, and we're going to try and just keep alternating now that Carolee spoke last. So we'll ask Tasha to answer the first question first. And this will be a 90-second time limit. So after 60 seconds, we should hear that doorbell letting you know that you still have 30 seconds to conclude. And as you can see, the question, should there be a homeless service center in South Maui? If so, how would you get it funded? If not, what solutions do you propose for unsheltered residents in South Maui? Tasha?
If the residents of South Maui would like a homeless shelter, I would not disagree with that. And I think that if that's something that they would like, then I think that the way to fund it is we could probably do it through monies that we get. Right now we get COVID dollars, and we could probably be in with that, but I'm not really sure because we have to spend those dollars by the end of this year. My whole sense is that the funding for something like that would probably have to come out of special funds. But then again, I'm not really sure about that because I'm not sure if that's something you all want. And if you folks do want it, where would you want it? You know, many of the projects that I've been looking at throughout this past years, people have not wanted certain projects in their neighborhoods. So if your community wants this, I'm for it. We can always look for the money later, but I'm not sure where to get that money today, not with the present pandemic and not with the reality of us not having enough money coming into our taxes this coming year.
Okay, Tasha, thank you. You were brief, but you answered the question fully. Okay, Carolee, your turn. Again, same question. You have 90 seconds to answer. And if you hit 60 seconds, we hope we'll be able to hear that doorbell. Take it away, Carolee.
Yes, I believe every community should have a homeless service or resource center. We have one in Wailuku, and Lahaina even has one. So where's Kihei's one? With regards to funding, I would look to federal and state programs or even county programs for grants, possibly garnering public-private partnerships with foundations whose objectives and goals relate to homelessness. I would network with organizations like Community Clinic of Maui, Kalima o Maui, Kahaleakiola Resource Center, possibly the Department of Health for help and guidance with behavioral and mental health issues, drug addiction, dental care, job training, etc. Speaking of Kahaleakiola, I would ask, what is the status of the Kihei Fund that was designated for Kihei's housing issues, including affordable housing, emergency sheltering, and homelessness? There's also a mobile hygiene center. Could it actually be mobile and perhaps travel to other communities like South Maui, say once a week? Or maybe acquire one to accommodate South Maui's homeless until a resource or service center is built. Mahalo.
Okay, thank you, Carolee. I don't know if you guys are speaking short or the doorbell's not working, but Patricia, I didn't hear the doorbell at all.
I didn't hear it either.
So I don't know whether they're wrapping up in less than 60 seconds or the doorbell isn't sounding.
I ring it at 30 seconds. I can go broader.
Well, we didn't hear it at all.
To hear that?
barely, just
Okay,
faint.
I'll use my voice. I'll go back to
Okay.
voice.
Okay.
Am I too loud right now?
No,
Okay,
And I think everybody is forewarned now that they won't think that they're finished when they hear your voice. They'll know they have 30
right,
seconds to
until
go.
they are.
Right. Okay, our second question, and we'll alternate now. And Carolinas, you will be first on this one. This too is a 90-second limit. And the question is, how will you ensure that the North-South Collector Road is fully funded and constructed? Carolee.
Funding can be acquired through the statewide Transportation Improvement Program, STIP. It's a list of transportation projects. In order for a project to have a chance of going forward, it needs to be on this list. Also, the higher on the list, the better chance of realization. So community advocacy for a STIP project would be through the Maui Metropolitan Planning Organization, or Maui MPO. At least 90% of the North-South Collector Road is buildable now. Couldn't that be a project we can implement now? If I'm not mistaken, doesn't the county receive about 23 million annually from the state for transportation improvements? Couldn't the council ask to allocate some of that funding for the North-South Collector Road?
Time. Oh, 30 seconds. Oh,
Carolee, had you concluded?
Yes, Mike, thank you.
Yep. I thought you did, but I didn't want to jump in and say, no, you're done now. Okay, so Tasha, same question for you. Again, you can see it on the screen. I won't read it the second time. I think it's nice and broad, we can say it. So Tasha, take it away, please.
thank you, Mike, and thank you for the question. You know, the North-South Collector Road actually is already funded, not all the way, but most of it. But, you know, so you need the $23 million to do the North-South Road. Then you need another $750,000 to the other, the Kahului type road. So my sense is that according to what MPO says, or at least Public Works, they say that I think by 2022, they should be able to have the beginning of the construction and the design work completed so that they could start actually, you know, moving dirt. So I think you're well on your way to getting that done, and you should be, because you've been working for it for many, many years. So that is what my understanding is from Public Works, is that it's on its way. Well job, good job, well done.
Okay, thank you, Tasha. Our third question, Carolee. No, I'm sorry, Tasha, you will start the third one. We're alternating, aren't we? Tasha, you will answer the third question, which also is a 90-second limit. What steps should be taken to reduce flooding and stormwater runoff, particularly in North Kihei?
Honestly, Mike, I have no idea. That's not my forte, wastewater or stormwater. I'm not even sure where North Kihei, what part of North Kihei Road you're talking about. I know that North Kihei Road goes all the way out to Ma'alaya, and then it begins out in Kihei. But that's all I know. But other than that, I have no idea. And that's my honest answer.
Okay.
But I could come back with that answer later if you want.
That's always fine when we hear an honest answer. I don't think we can ask for anything more than that from a candidate. We often hear about campaign promises that are not fulfilled. So it's much better to say, I'm not sure, than to say, oh yeah, I'll get it done. Don't worry about it. And then talk to me after November 3rd. Okay, Carolee, you're up for that same question.
Primarily agriculture with a population around 1,600. Kihei was developed in the 1970s. That development occurred in the floodplain before flood zoning became effective. Therefore, the drainage infrastructure is totally inadequate for South Maui's current population. Short-term solution, always keep the waterways and gulches free of debris. Don't build on the wetlands. Don't develop along the coastline. Long-term solutions, fund and implement the Southwest Maui Watershed Plan and complete the Kihei Master Stormwater Drainage Plan. Mahalo, Mike.
Okay, thank you, Carol Lee. Again, Carol Lee, you'll start off our fourth question, and this one has a 2-minute limit. At what point should managed retreat from threatened coastal areas in South Maui, such as the North Kiay Road and sections of South Kihei Road, begin to be executed? And what do you think is the best remedy against the future loss of South Kihei Road? Carol Lee, you're up first. 2 minutes.
At what point?
No.
In hindsight,
No.
I would say yesterday. With the demolition of the Maui Lu, that would have been a prime opportunity for managed retreat. We need to restore the coastal sand dunes and protect what little wetlands we have. We need to be proactive and think about sea level rise. Don't try blocking the water from coming ashore by building seawalls.
Build up.
If a road or house is falling, let it fall. Things happen for a reason. I believe that. So we should look at trying to relocate inland as much as possible. Look at what's happening in Paia, Baldwin Beach Park. The sand is eroding right under the pavilion. Parts of the parking lot is already gone. Restore the sand dunes and protect the wetlands. Mahalo.
Really?
Okay, thank you, Carol Lee. Tasha, same question for you. And again, I won't repeat it now that it's up on the screen. When you're ready, Tasha.
You know, Mike, no matter what we do, we're not going to stop Mother Nature from doing what she's done since this earth was created. As human beings, we have the wisdom to figure out what do we need to do. If we know that the tide is rising and water's coming closer to shore, then it makes sense for us to move upland. I mean, that is one of the reasons why we have the Lahaina bypass, is because we knew what was happening in Lahaina on the road. We moved the road up. Kihei, we're gonna have to do the same thing too. And maybe, like Carol said, in hindsight, we should have done it sooner, but we weren't there yesterday. We're here today. We're here now. So we should be doing it now. And those are some of the things we should be looking at. And that's my response, Mike. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Tasha. You will answer our fifth question first. This is another one with a 2-minute limit. How would you reduce the gap between supporting infrastructure, including open space and greenways for exercise and mobility, and new development?
I think the question, thank you. I think the question is more about balance. How do we develop without overdeveloping? How do we grow and still be able to give our people the kind of quality of life in terms of recreation, in terms of what it takes for us to have the life that we want to enjoy today? So I think it's about people just talking to other people about what their desires are and about what their hopes and what their highest dreams are. And sometimes you're going to know that we're not going to always agree. Look at our own county. Look at our own council. People on the council don't agree about a whole lot of things, and neither do people in our community. But it doesn't mean that we don't talk about how to make things more balanced for all of us, how we can all get along, because we all have to share this place called Hawaii. We all have to share Maui. That's what makes Maui Nokaoi, the people and the relationship they have with each other. And no matter what what we want. Sometimes we have to give a little and take a little less, but that's what makes us who we are. Think about the things in your life that you've had to do. Think about the community itself. Think about the community association. What gives and what takes have you all had to do to be able to make life satisfactory for everybody? Your most recent housing development, you know, with West Lowe's project out there by the church. You know, I mean, the developers wanted to go 4. Community said, "Can you do 3?" The
30
developers said, "Well, let's
seconds.
talk." And in the end, what happened was people talked about issues that they disagreed on, and they came to a consensus. They came to something, a happy medium. So I think that's what has to happen. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. I'll just jump in here. We got a couple of emails about challenges with viewing on Facebook Live. I would just tell those guys, if that doesn't work, turn on your television and you can watch on channel 54. We have that advantage that Akaku is telecasting live. So if you can't get in on Facebook Live, just turn on the TV, channel 54, and you can listen and watch. Okay, now I lost my place. I think it was Carol Lee's turn to answer that same question.
Yes, thank you, Mike. I believe the question should read, what created the gap? A lag in infrastructure and the lack of enforcement of the Kihei McKenna Community Plan. I quote, upon adoption of this plan, allow no further development unless infrastructure, public facilities, and services needed to serve a new development are available prior to or concurrent with the impacts of new development. And establish a system of parks, utility easements, shoreline areas, drainage ways, and wetlands as an open space framework for the urban areas of the region, i.e., where structures exist or are planned to exist, and provide an integrated system of pedestrian and bicycle paths. I am of the belief that Kihei generates much of the county revenue, just as the west side does. As a council member, I would enforce the community plans and vote for CIP monies fairly. Mahalo.
Thank you, Carol Lee. I'll jump in one more time. Somebody heard me say it's on channel 54, and they said, well, the guys that can't get in on Facebook Live can't hear you. Well, then, you know, I would ask the community, check with your friends. If they can't see it, tell them to please turn to channel 54. If they can't hear me, there's not much I can do to inform them, but let's work together as a community and say it's live on channel 54. Okay, sorry for keep interrupting, but we're trying to let as many people hear your voices as we possibly can. So we'll move on to the 6th question. And Carol Lee, you will start this one off. And this is a 90-second response time. And we can see the question says, what future would you like to see for the remaining North Kiay wetlands, and how will you realize that vision? Carol Lee, please.
I would like to see all the remaining wetlands preserved and protected in perpetuity. Realizing that vision through education. This is a perfect example where we could expand and diversify tourism into ecotourism, volunteer cleanup. Much can be learned about our ecosystem and the concept of Mauka to Makai, the endemic species that call our wetlands home. In our everyday life, we could be more cognizant of fertilizer and pesticide usage, picking up our trash, using natural or non-toxic products to wash our clothes or our car, plant native plants, That's how I see this vision. Mahalo.
Okay, thank you, Carol Lee. Tasha, your answer in 90 seconds, please.
I think the way to take care of the wetlands is just leave it alone. Just let it be. The wetlands were here way before any one of us were even considered to be a part of this earth. It is Mother Nature's way of keeping this earth the way it is. I think our job is to preserve and protect things of that nature. And I will agree that it's through education. It's through sharing the knowledge and the wisdom of our kupuna to our children, to our grandchildren, for the generations to come. And my sense is that the way that we are to do it is to, maybe we need to put up signs that tell that. Maybe we need to put out these, what they're doing with the Aqua signs is putting those same kinds of information out into not just Kihei wetlands, but all the wetlands. Because if we don't know where all of our wetlands are, chances are we're going to probably encroach on them and probably not even realize that we're going to be taking away more of our wetlands than we really need to do. So my sense is we should preserve it, we should take care of it, we should allow the next to know of it, and that is our kuleana to do, to preserve and to protect. Thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you, Tasha. Okay, this will be our final question for the opening segment.
For our grandchildren, for the generations to come. My sense is that the way that we are to do it.
We're getting some kind of feedback there. We heard Tasha wrap up a second time. And that's the fun of technology. It reminds us that technology is not so smart. I think of human error, sometimes technology has an error as well. Okay, our final question, and Tasha will start this one off. This is a 90-second time limit, and we can see the question: allowing nutrient-rich water to reach the ocean through the Kiay injection wells is not only detrimental to the reefs and our precious marine environment, but is also a waste of water in a very dry and thirsty region. How will you accelerate the transition of wastewater from the Kiay injection wells to use in irrigation? Tasha, 90 seconds, and you're up first, please.
Well, the way to do it is through dollars, right? Because what you got to do is you have to be able to connect that water from that injection well to wherever it is that you want to spread it around. If you want to put it up by Maui Meadow side, if you want to put it onto all the wasteland that you might still have in Kihei, but that's what you want to do. You want to landscape, you want to saturate all of that area. It takes money, time, and planning. So my sense is that you could put something like that in a budget. Maybe you could get a, maybe you could bond a project such as that to be able to do that. But I think that's not something that you only want to do in Kihei. That's something I think the state wants to do across the state, because you got to know that Maui has a couple of injection wells, but across the state we have more. So if we talk about wasting and wanting to save and want to do climate change, then all of those things are all wrapped up in putting more money into diverting to distribute that wastewater all across, the county, wherever it might need. And that's my short answer.
Okay, thank you very much, Tasha. Carol Lee, your answer to this final question, again, I won't read it because it's on the screen, but could you please give us your answer with a 90-second limit?
To accelerate the transition of wastewater for irrigation, I would say the best way is to decentralize the treatment facility. If you build a regional wastewater facility to intercept wastewater from the Wailea area, treat it, and retransmit it back to Wailea, the amount of users would increase and the amount of effluent into the injection wells would decrease. I'm not an engineer or a brainywhack by any means, but I would like to think the cost of construction for this facility will in the long run pay for itself. plus the amount of potable water used for irrigation in the Wailea area would exponentially decrease. I think too, it's cheaper than trying to lay pipes in already developed areas, causing a huge traffic impact and unwanted stress on
30
South
seconds.
Maui residents. That's just my 2 cents, Mike. Mahalo.
Okay, thank you very much, Carol Lee. So that was our last question for this first segment. And now we'll get our closing 1-minute statements. And Carol Lee, you'll kick it off, and then Tasha will close out the segment. So Carol Lee, your 1-minute closing statement, please.
I may not have the name recognition as my opponent, but I do have the passion, drive, and will to make Maui Nui a better, more efficient, and sustainable home for each of us. I will fight for you, the voter, and be your voice. If elected, I will have an open door policy. I will remember all those who put their faith and trust in me to get me where I am. I will not buckle to big corporations. My
30
name is
seconds.
Kahului Kamikona, and I am running for Maui County Council's Kahului seat. My website is votekamikona.com. Facebook page is Kahului Kamikona for Maui County Council. I humbly ask for your vote and your support. Mahalo, and God bless.
Thank you, Carol Lee. And Tasha, would you give us your closing 1-minute statement, please?
Thank you, Mike. Thank you to the Kihei Community Association. Thank you for everyone who's watching and listening. But my closing statement is this. When you think about someone that would represent you, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? What comes to my mind is, does that person represent my values? What are her values? What are my values? I'm a local girl, born and raised here, became a Christian at 12 years of age,
30 seconds.
married my husband for 50 years, firmly rooted and grounded in my faith in God and my faith in my culture and what I have today. And that's who I am. So I ask that you would vote Kama for Council on November 3rd. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everyone. Aloha, ahuiho. Good night.
Thank you very much, Tasha and Carol Lee. We truly appreciate you devoting your time to inform our community. And as you can see, our questions are geared to South Maui. Well, that's our kuleana. You guys represent the whole community. We, by our bylaws, we represent South Maui, so we hear our questions that way. And yes, we certainly get that a lot of these topics are county-wide or at least island-wide on some of them. But that's what we do. And we really appreciate that you're attuned to what's going on in South Maui. And we truly encourage everybody who's listening and those who are not listening, find out from your friends. It's very important that you vote for every race. We have 7 contested races this year. Each and every one is just as important as any other, including your local one. This is not the state. This is Maui County. This is our system. So again, Tasha and Carol Lee, we thank you very, very much for participating. And we wish you we wish you good health in these trying times, but we wish you the best of luck in the upcoming election. Aloha.
Aloha, and the same to you.
Mahalo.
Aloha.
Bye, Tasha.
Okay, this is
Bye, Carol. Bye, Kelly.
Bye, Kia. Bye, Tom.
Aloha, good job, everybody.
Bye, Tom.
Bye, Tom.
Go away.
Okay, guys, this is our intermission. And as we said at the beginning, we're just going to very briefly list the 7 charter amendments that are on the ballot. So again, these are things that everyone should vote for every single one. And to say in November, I didn't understand it, well, then you didn't do your homework and you're not being a good citizen and a good community member. Please take the time to get informed. There will be several ways to do so, but we just list them here without explanation, but they're too complex for this. We just want to mention them. So I'll just read them. You can all see them on the screen. The first one is extend the Affordable Housing Fund. The second one is hire a professional managing director for the executive branch. 3, establish stricter time limits for council members by limiting the number of terms a person may serve to 5 2-year terms. That's total, no coming back. The fourth one is to establish procedures for resolving conflicts between the council and the mayor through the judicial system. Number 5, authorize the council to appoint 9 members and the mayor appoint 2 members of the 11-member Charter Commission. Number 6, establish stricter term limits for the mayor by limiting the number of terms a person may serve as mayor to 2 full 4-year terms. Again, no coming back afterwards. And the last one is to establish a Department of Agriculture. And I think we all understand the need. We always did understand the need for food security, but I think it's maybe rammed home to us now in these very trying times. So again, I can tell you KCA, our position is we're in support of all 7 charter amendments. That's our position, but you need to reach your own decisions as individual voters. So please get informed. That's what we did. We researched them and made what we felt were fair decisions that we felt all were worthwhile. But mostly vote on them. If you don't like it, vote no. If you like it, vote yes. But please do participate. Okay, so now we'll kick into our second half for the local guys here for South Maui. We are the Kihei Community Association, but when this association was started 59 years and 11 months, we have our anniversary coming up in October. It's stated clearly in the bylaws that it incorporates all of South Maui, very close to the way that the system is now with the South Maui district. And so back in the day, it was called the Kihei Community Association, but today many folks look at it as South Maui. And we had considered changing the name, but we felt no, let's stick with it. Lasted almost 60 years. It serves the need. So now we have our South Maui candidates. And again, I'm using first names because I am a lot older than these guys. So I'm taking that privilege. And we're going to ask the same questions, and we'll flip back and forth as we did in the first session. And Tom, you will be up first. So you have 1 minute to give us your introductory statement for the whole county that's listening. Tom, take it away, please.
He's muted.
Okay.
Oh.
I'm unmuted now, correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, aloha, Mike. Aloha, Kelly. Aloha, everybody that's watching this evening. My name is Tom Cook. I'm a resident of Kihei, and I am a candidate for the Maui County Council, South Maui seat. Just to get to know me, I've been a resident of Maui for 48 years. My first 36 years, I was up in the Haiku area, homesteaded, and off the grid, back to land rain catchment, wind
30
generator,
seconds.
small farming. Anyway, I'm a husband. I have 5 children, 4 grandchildren. I have life skills and professional skills that I bring to the table. I want to serve you as your Maui County Council member. And I'm excited about this evening and the questions. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Tom. I was trying to take a peek at an incoming email, so I had a little delay. Thank you, Tom, for your opening statement. Kelly, again, you're next, please, and you have 60 seconds for your opening statement.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Aloha Kihei Community Association. I'm Kelly King, your current council member for South Maui District. And many of you know me through my decades of involvement with this organization, dating back to the days of KCA President Gene Thompson. Since being elected 4 years ago, I've met regularly with your board and I've loved representing our community. I'm a 40-year resident of Maui, 35 years in the same Kihei home with my husband and I, built with a federal affordable housing loan and where our children were born and raised, both products of Maui's public and private schools. Jen and Aaron graduated from Maui High School and went on to get their master's degrees from UH Manoa. Bob and I have created and run 2 successful businesses, King Diesel, now King Power, and Pacific Biodiesel. And we just last weekend celebrated our 37th wedding anniversary, our greatest sustainability success. I'm running for re-election to continue working to cultivate good government, promote transparency, and create collaborations within our communities. I mean, it's been great working with the KCA Ma'alaya Village Association and other South Maui community groups, and I look forward to another 2 years. I humbly ask for your vote and your continued community involvement, and I look forward to the questions you have today. Mahalo.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Okay, so again, Tom, you're up first. So you have 90 seconds to answer this now. I think familiar question. Should there be a homeless service center in South Maui? If so, how will you get it funded? And if not, what solutions do you propose for our unsheltered residents? And you have 90 seconds, Tom.
Muted.
You're muted, Tom.
Muted.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm getting zoomed. I believe that South Maui could very much use a homeless shelter facility, providing the social services to the many unsheltered people that are in Kihei. Every district and the island, to me, should have provide the social services for the homeless. I feel the homeless issue is twofold, not only for the individuals and the lack of dignity, the lack of ability for hygiene, but also what are we showing our children? What are our youth seeing and interpreting of how we are as leaders and adults in a community? So I think that providing social services and the state grasping the mental health issues. There's some people who simply have just need a hand up so they can get back to work and be in shelters. And there's some people that need mental health help, and that's a state issue. I think that all of us as a community working together, all of us working together in and out of government, partnering with the Salvation Army and the other nonprofit agencies that are doing a very good job, very compassionate, is the solution. But it's something that we're going to have to grow out of. It breaks my heart to see people living in the street, and it isn't acceptable.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, Kelly, of course, same question for you, and you have 90 seconds to answer.
Okay.
There it is. There's the
There
question.
it is. Okay. Well, we all know the answer to this is yes. We do need a homeless service center in South Maui. My first year, about 4 years ago, on the council, I held some community meetings where we could all come together and recognize this problem, because my biggest issue in working with the community is, do we have the support? And we had homeless people in that meeting, we had homeless service people, we had the Homeless Alliance Board, and we made a commitment in those 2 meetings to help the homeless, and we put ideas out there. We created a volunteer working group, and out of that volunteer working group, we actually created a mobile hygiene unit project. We got that mobile hygiene unit built, and somehow it left our community. The mayor took it when the COVID pandemic hit. It's being used for those waiale, those little units out there. So we're gonna get it back at some point. We don't know what condition it's gonna be in, but I've been working very closely with Kahului Akeola about this. And it appears that we may be I'm willing to go ahead and put money in for a second unit and let those folks have it, because
30
it's a
seconds.
need across the island. But Carol Lee is right. We have 1.5 million in workforce development funds that have been sitting around for a long time that are due for South Maui. So I've also been working with groups on what we're going to use that for: a tiny home project, additional housing, the facility, and that's where we were when the COVID struck. And so hopefully at some point we'll continue up with those meetings in person. But as you know, with the homeless issues, it's very sensitive. It's a lot easier to be there in the same room discussing these issues. But I believe we are making headway. And I'm excited to get that mobile hygiene unit back to South Maui where it belongs.
Thank you very much, Kelly. Okay, Kelly, you will start off answering the second question. Again, a 90-second time limit. How will you ensure that the North-South Collector Road is fully funded and constructed?
Okay, I think it was said earlier that it is fully funded, but that's not exactly true. It's kind of a moving target, as you know, Mike. And when I was on the MPO, we moved it up to the top of the list. I don't know what happened in the last year and a half since I haven't been on the Metropolitan Planning Organization. But my goal for next term, should I be reelected, is to get back on that organization, because we need to move that road up to the top of the list. That is going to be our South Kihei Road someday. And we need that to go all the way across the island. So I've also been working with our congressional delegation to try to get federal funding to come back in. We had federal funding at one point, maybe about 30 years ago, but what they were trying to do with that road, and you and I both live on that road, so we know what that's like, was to widen it to a 4-lane road. And nobody who lived on Kenoleo wanted that. So we lost that federal funding back then. It's a great road to have a 2-lane to use as an alternate bike path. We have share roads on there, which a lot of people don't understand. When you see that little arrow with the bicycle on it, it means that the bike
30 seconds.
same rights to that road as a car. And you know, a lot of people don't know that. But I'm committed to getting that road done. I think we need to create a campaign in Kihei to keep that top of mind for our public officials, and not just at the county level, but the state and federal level as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Excuse me. Okay, Tom, same question. And here it comes. There you go, Tom. You have 90 seconds, please.
Okay, thank you, Mike. I walked that road. It's a wonderful facility, wonderful access road through the middle. I like to call it more like the central neighborhood road, with the bike path and the walking trails. And I'm glad to hear that the funding has been allocated for it. It is something that we're going to have to be tenacious and persistent to make sure that they don't reallocate it to somewhere else. But I'm an advocate. We need that, and it sounds like everybody in the community is supportive of it. We do need to keep it top of priority. Whenever road projects are addressed with the highway department or else the state highways, state transportation network, what they look for is projects that the community will accept. If the community is in opposition to a project, they'll simply go to the next project on the road. So it's our job as community leaders to work with the associations and work the neighbors, educate them to the fact
30 seconds.
that you might not like everything about it, but if we put up barriers, they're just going to take the money and spend it somewhere else. So I look forward to being able to go on the entire road and use it and not be walking on the grass and the dirt. Aloha.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Tom, you lead off question 3. And again, this is a 90-second time limit. What steps should be taken to reduce flooding and stormwater runoff, particularly in North Kihei?
This is one of the biggest issues besides transportation in our district. The low-hanging fruit is to clean out the drainage ways and not do any more further development. I've a couple of projects were on the fringes of some of the drainage ways, and they should not be approved or allowed. Keeping the drainage ways clear all the way up as Malka as we can go. I went to one of your association meetings several years ago when Director David Good gave a presentation about the county's preliminary planning for storm drainage, Malka of the Kihei. Most of that is all private property, ranch land, but we need a major storm drainage project like what they did in Napili. I worked in 1975 for Soil Conservation Service as a rodman surveying, doing the work up all Malka for the Napili storm drain project. That was mostly federal funds. It's going to be challenging to get any funding. So I think
30
that
seconds.
if we did public-private partnerships with the landowners and find out what they want and need and let them know that what we want and need, possibly using some of the water from the sewage treatment plant, the reclamated water, would something we could offer them for irrigated pastures. Just some ideas, but we need to address the storm drain. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, Kelly, of course, same question for you with the 90-second limit. Go ahead,
well,
Kelly, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. This is something I've been working on as a council member, and we have an issue. There's a problem with the master drainage plan for South Maui in that it has in there hardened drainage systems, and nobody wants that anymore. What we want is biological drainage systems that slow the flow of water, that will absorb water, not let it go rushing down the hill into the ocean. So that's being done right now. That actually the first study by Amanda Cording of Eco Solutions was reported out at the KCA meeting before the COVID pandemic, which is a while now, unfortunately. But this is a direction that I'm so pleased that the Public Works Department has taken that lead from me and is working in that direction, because not only do we need to change the idea of what a storm drainage is and make it more biological, we also need to partner with the federal government. You know, in the West Maui, the Corps of Engineers does a lot of that drainage maintenance, and we don't really have them in South Maui. So that's another area that we could tap to bring in extra workforce to work on this along with our county workers.
30 seconds.
But certainly there are solutions out there that are coming. They're also a lot cheaper than what was originally proposed with the storm drainage in this North Kihei especially area. So I'm excited to see that come to fruition, and I'm also excited anytime we can get more green than white cement. Thanks for agreeing with me, Tom.
No, hey, we're on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely. This is where we got to go.
Okay, thank you, guys. Fourth question. Kelly, you kicked this one off, and this one has a 2-minute limit. At what point should managed retreat from threatened coastal areas in South Maui, such as North Kihei Road and sections of South Kihei Road, begin to be executed? And what do you think is the best remedy against future loss of South Kihei Road? Kelly, 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think someone said this already. Yesterday would have been good to start working on this. I'm really thrilled to be chairing the Climate Action and Resilience Committee now, because this is a brand new committee. We're the only council in the state of Hawaii that has such a committee, because this gives me an opportunity to focus on this issue and to bring these items to the table. One of the issues with North Kihei Road is, of course, Kealia Pond. We're already getting flooding there. That's going to be gone probably in about 10 to 15 years, that road. So we need to start designing the roadway around it right now. As for South Kihei Road, I'm really disappointed in what's happening with the Maui Lu. And unfortunately, the council has no say in that. But the decision to go ahead with the Maui Lu was one thing, but then the decision to include the Makai area of the on the other side on the beach side of South Kihei Road, to me, was criminal. And there was nothing I could do. I couldn't even bring a resolution, because we're not allowed to make a resolution against a private company. So the best I could do is write a letter to Hilton. But I think other than stopping the building within the SMA flood zone and the sea level rise area, which is what's the first thing we should do, what we really need to do is finish that north-south collector road. That will give us the access we need in the areas that may get flooded first. But I don't think, I agree with what was said before about the water's going to come in. You can't stop it. It's like when they tried to stop the lava flow on the Big Island. They built a big trench, and all the lava did was go in one side and out the other, and it did not
30
stop
seconds.
sideways. So we have to find ways to work within the natural environment and not try to push back against it so hard that we're going to get worse damage when we get the storm surge. So I believe there are ways of doing this. I believe we need to start now with the design of this new, of the finishing of the North-South Collector Road and the areas of South Kihei Road that we may need to move inland. So I'm committed to that as a climate action and resilience item in my committee.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay, Tom, same question for you, and it's a 2-minute time limit on this one. Tom, take it away.
Okay, thank you, Mike. A couple of different items on this. One, I feel as far as like being on the council and responsible for the liability and whatnot, we need to somehow work with Corp Council and identify how we can convey and what kind of a time frame that the County of Maui is not liable for any of the private property that is potentially damaged through these projected events. Also, I was on the GPAC, and basically when we did the urban growth boundaries, this was not part of the consideration. I think we need to readdress the island plan and take it into consideration in the South Maui plan, that the urban growth boundaries are going to need to be expanded Mauka to compensate for all the lots and the potential projected buildable area that was that's going to be inundated. I'm not an advocate of hardening the shoreline. I would like to do whatever we can to enhance the marine environment, whether that be with augmented, with reefs. I'm not a marine engineer. I think that we need to not only try and protect the reefs from runoff, but we also need to augment and enhance the marine environment to have more fish and more marine life. And hopefully that can help revitalize some of the reefs that are under such duress. So this event gives us an opportunity and an obligation to work not only onshore, but to address our offshore areas, because they're interconnected. It's just some's covered with water and some will be covered with water in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, our 5th question. This also has a 2-minute limit. And Tom, you start this one off. How will you reduce the gap between supporting infrastructure, including open space and greenways for exercise and mobility, and new development? Tom, 2 minutes.
Okay, thank you very much. I really welcome this question. I've been involved for 15, 20 years in reviewing projects, and there's a disconnect between doing the infrastructure and the development. And what's occurring, Wailea 670 and Wailea have about $48 million worth of commitment for their, for their entitlements, but it's linked to different triggers when they're building. They can't do all the infrastructure in advance. Nobody could afford that. One proposal is that the county would develop the infrastructure and then build the developers as they're going to connect, similarly to what we do with the parks right now. So we need to connect the dots on this. And I believe that by planning out all of the infrastructure, all of the parks, all of the greenways, everything that we want for our community, and just being firm on that. And then when the developers come, we sit down and work with them. We're going to have to pay and develop it comprehensively. So it's not this checkerboard, chop suey, waiting for the next developer, waiting for the economy to validate being able to build in an area. If we do it comprehensively, it'll be more cost effective. The community will benefit from it sooner. And the burden and the risk on the developers will be minimized. It'll still cost a fortune, but at least their risk and their timeline will be more defined.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Kelly, you're up for a 2-minute answer for that same question, please.
Okay, well, I love the idea of space and greenways. I've actually been promoting that in this current budget that we're in. So I was responsible for proposing the money to actually purchase open space, with open space funding, the Ma'alai Mauka area, which I think is much better use than to try to develop that. And we also got the Kulani Hakoi Gulch in the budget as well to purchase for open space. So it's really important to actually utilize those spaces too. And so we're hopefully the next iteration of the budget will have money in there for the bikeways and the greenways and the walkways that we've been promised for years. But I think as far as the infrastructure for development, there's been a lot less burden recently in the projects I've been involved in, trying to usher into the community. And actually, we've got senior housing coming that's been approved. We've got affordable rentals coming. We have one that's already been opened up in April, starting at under $600 a month for a 2-bedroom apartment. We've got another affordable rental for the very low income going in on Lapoa. We've got several workforce development housing projects, and none of those have been burdened with building extra roads. There's things that they have, other than internal roads inside their project, but there are things that they have to do conditionally on the periphery. But we haven't been burdening. I mean, I think that was a huge burden for Wailea 670 to have to widen Pi'ilani Highway. That's a huge expense, and they have to do that first. Yeah. So there was
30 seconds.
There was a time when we used to require that, and so the burden is becoming less because the urgency for affordable housing is higher, and we've been meeting that challenge by having the county step up and put some of that infrastructure in. But there needs to be a balance, and I think we're going to find that balance when we do the review of the South Maui Community Plan, which has already started with the community interviews. We're going to have to speak up and say where we want stuff built and where we don't want stuff built, and we're going to have to really make it. We need the council to make that commitment. I've been sort of a lone voice a lot of times standing up for the community plan, but it's getting a stronger voice.
Okay, thank you, Kelly. Our 6th question, and Kelly, you start this one off. What future would you like to see for the remaining North Kihei wetlands, and how would you realize that vision?
We need to preserve all of the remaining wetlands. And we used to have over 200 acres of wetlands in Kihei, and now we're down to something like 24. So we need to preserve what we have left. We need to actually expand back into those areas that used to be recognizable wetlands that are now a question. And so to that end, I was able to get $200,000 into this current budget to start on wetland restoration. And that will be a project that will be housed under the Hawaiian Island Land Trust entity. And so hopefully we can expand on that once we get going. But these are the first line of attack against flooding, and we're losing them. You know, we had this construction boom back in the 80s where we were the fastest growing community in the state. It was detrimental to our wetlands, it was detrimental to our coastline, it was detrimental to our schools in this area, which I was very involved in at the time too. So we've got to take a pause. We've got to put these restorations into our next community plan, and we've got to get them funded. And the current council has been willing to do that. So I'm very grateful to my colleagues.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay, Tom, same question for you with a 90-second limit, please.
Okay, thank you, Mike. In order to preserve the wetlands, we need to basically be able to keep out, but the wetlands are not just the water and the marshland, it's also the wildlife that lives and inhabits the area. So we need to get rid of the feral cats and identify to preserve and protect the areas. I don't believe that we should be building in any wetlands, and I don't think we need to. I think that we need to modify the existing urban growth boundaries, Malka and Kihei, and stay away from the wetlands and the low-lying areas. Kealia Pond, they did a nice job so that it used to be mud flats. We used to go burn rubber, not me, but the guys I knew. Used to go over there and raise hell on the flats. Now it's awesome, the improvements that have been done. I think that we as a community and we as a society have made great progress with the nene, the whales, and now the wetlands. So we've demonstrated that we can learn from our mistakes and that we can work more with nature. And I'm an advocate of doing that. I'm an environmentalist at heart. I'm a builder, but I don't like to, I'm very particular about the resources.
Okay, thank you, Tom. And that brings us to our final question, our 7th question. And this one has a 90-second limit. And Tom, you're up first on this one. Allowing nutrient-rich water to reach the ocean through the Kihei injection wells is not only detrimental to the reefs and our precious marine environment, but it is also a waste of water in a very dry and thirsty region. How will you accelerate the transition of wastewater from the Kihei injection wells to use in irrigation? Tom, 90 seconds, please.
Okay. Well, I think it's a complete waste. It's a monetary issue. I believe Tasha indicated that. I've spoken with the people over there, and basically the challenge is the electricity to pump the water up Malka to utilize it for irrigation. I'd like to see ponds to be and irrigated pastures, if nothing else, in a temporary transitional period to utilize the water as a fire break and pasture land, Malka. And so it's not going into the injection wells, but it's available as the pipelines are developed to utilize it to irrigate parks, subdivisions, and all of the other areas. It should be mandated that any new roads are going to have a purple reclamated pipeline installed with it. And then, so we will have to dig up some existing roads, but whenever road work is done, that's going to be the least expensive, the least invasive, and the most constructive way, most constructive way to put the infrastructure in for the reclamated water. It'd be nice if it was done previously, but we didn't know before. So right now I'd like to pump it all Malka and use it for, make it as useful as possible, but it's electricity.
Okay, thank you, Tom. Kelly, your answer to this final question with the 90-second limit, please.
Okay, thank you, Mike. This really speaks to my heart because I think it's an issue not just in Kihei, but I led the charge to try to settle the Lahaina injection well lawsuit in the last year, and the council did vote for that. We put $4 million into a lawsuit when we could have put $4 million into solutions. So this is what we need to do with our money. There is some money going into that, by the way. There's $1 million in a CIP project that the county is doing, which is going to take some of that water and put it on agricultural lands to test it, to see if we can do that safely and see if they can do that. There are also some public-private partnership possibilities. And I've had in my committee, in the Climate Action Committee, presentations by folks like Travis Liggett, who are who got some money to do a pilot project to take the wastewater before it goes into the injection well, clean it out with an algal limu solution, and then utilize it on ag land after that. So that's in the works right now, and hopefully
30 seconds.
With the Public Works Department and DEM, Department of Environmental Management. We also have a couple of other private entities that are working on modular type wastewater treatment facilities. And so I really believe the solution is here. We need to have the political will to put that together. But there are people that see a value proposition and that are willing to invest. And so it doesn't have to be all county money. But we do need to stop using the injection wells as the first source for putting water into the ocean, for getting rid of wastewater. We need to see that as only a last resort when we have overflow from storms.
Okay, thank you very much, Kelly. And now we come to your 1-minute closing statements to wrap up the program for this evening. And Kelly, you're up first, so your closing 1-minute statement, please.
Okay, thank you very much. It's been really great to be here and talking about these issues, and I've appreciated my association with the KCA and our quarterly meetings with the board, as well as the community meetings, and I'm really sorry that we can't do that in this COVID time. But I do want to say that I'm running for re-election to continue working to cultivate good government, and that's why I was part of proposing these charter amendments that I think give us a chance to upgrade our local governmental system. We need transparency. We need to create collaborations within our communities and continue creating them, especially with I was really tickled that we didn't get any questions about affordable housing today, because it's happening. We have projects that are happening, and I'm really pleased with that. I'm really happy with that the community is in support, because the communication has been there. So in closing, I would like to say I never wanted to be a politician. Respecting our past while thinking outside the box, we can work together for the benefit of Maui's keiki, and we can continue to create meaningful solutions. Please re-elect me, Kelly Takaya King, to the County Council South Maui Residency seat, and let's continue our work to keep Maui no Ka'oi. My website is www.kellykingformaui.com, and I hope you'll visit it and get more details on my vision and some of the actions that have been taken, my experience, and where we are today. Mahalo.
Okay, thank you very much, Kelly. Tom, you have the closing word in your 1 minute statement, please.
Good. Thank you, Mike. Thank you, KCA. Thank you, Kelly and Tasha and everybody for participating in this forum. My name is Tom Cook. I want to be your Maui County Council member for South Maui. I bring to the table years of experience as a builder, sustainable agriculture, ranching, very diverse background. I can get affordable housing built island-wide. I can, as I have up in Waiahuli and Hawaiian Homes, work with the state and work with the county agencies to establish the ways that we can do things legally, but creatively, so that they're cost effective. Too many of our rules and regulations are stifling and keeping us from doing the things that our community not only wants, but agrees that we need. My name is Tom Cook. Please vote for me on November 3rd. My website is www.tomcookformaui.com. And I humbly ask for your support and your vote. And I thank you all for this evening.
Okay, thank you very much, Tom and Kelly. Again, we really appreciate everybody's participation. And as I mentioned with the candidates from outside the area, it used to be an effort. Well, they had to come from so far. Well, some good things come of pandemics. Here the field is leveled, that everybody has the same opportunity. We generally concluded our live meetings by telling everybody, get home safe. Well, most of everybody is home safe, so just continue to be safe there. But we do, again, thank you very much for devoting the time to participate, and we really appreciate it. We hope that as we're telling our South Maui residents to be aware of all the races, we hope the guys outside of Maui are very well aware of this race, because this is, it's 9 votes takes a majority to get everything done. I will mention to anyone who's interested, I failed to ask Akaku, but I know at our prior forum, they reran the entire meeting immediately on Channel 54. So I think if anybody wants to, they can catch up and see anything they missed or whatever. And as we thank you, we do really sincerely thank Akaku for helping us. They gave us tips, and they're doing this wonderful service by telecasting any forum that they can find. So again, as I started off, for some of us tech challenge guys, when it's like, just turn on the TV, we can all do that. That's a good way to watch it. But again, I thank everybody for all their help, especially now our closing 2 local residents. And again, we mostly wish you good health and safety, but we wish you good luck in the upcoming election.
One more thing, Mike.
Mahalo and aloha.
One more thing, Mike.
Yes.
Yes. So there was a problem with Zoom broadcasting to Facebook. So Facebook Live didn't make it, but this whole forum is recorded, and so I'll post it on the web, and it'll be visible on Facebook.
Okay, thank you very much for the update, Rob. And again, technology challenges hit us all, and they hit the professional organizations, and they have no mercy on us volunteer guys either. So we hope those that were trying to catch it there will look for the replay on our KCA website, or as we mentioned, it was successfully shown on Akaku and probably will be recorded. So thank you for the update, Rob. And I mentioned Rob is not in the picture. You don't even see his name, but without him, none of this would be happening, believe me. He's our vice president and so much more to the island community. So,
that's my nickname for him. He's the EnviroTech.
Yes, good name. Yes, he does have many hats. They'll say, oh, he wears 2 hats. No. He only has 1 hat, but boy, does he have a lot of hats. So again, everyone, thank you. Stay safe, and please get busy as soon as those ballots come in. Get busy filling them out.
Vote.
Baby Tom, that's the key. And no vote, no grumble. We believe that. Okay, we say aloha to everyone, and mahalo for everybody's participation.
Like
Have
I
a
like
good
to
evening.
say,
Aloha.
vote early and only vote once.
Yeah.
Girl.
Nice to see
Thank
you,
you.
Tom. Take
Take
care.
care,
Thank
Kelly.
you, Mike.
Aloha.
Thanks. Aloha. Bye. Thank you, Patricia.